Cord. Well, good morning everyone, and this is a little video that I promised you. So I'm making the wreath. I've been out and I've cut quite a lot of willow, you can see it here, and the red bits are dogwood. So I have to get the size of the wreath sorted. Now willow is very bendy and that's why I'm using it. So if you haven't got willow but you have something that is bendy, you can use that. I'll leave that to your own imagination and wherever you are in the world. So I'm just getting the actual size of the wreath sorted, and I don't want it too big. So I'm going to start like this. So I'm holding it. You need to have strong hands. I have rheumatoid arthritis, but you know, this is really good for keeping your hands working and strong. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start weaving this, which will keep it in place. I've got Dwayne here. Oh, I just whacked myself in the face with that willow. So Dwayne's just keeping an eye on the camera for me. It's on a little tripod. So thank you, Dwayne, for showing me how all this works.
Hi everybody.
The technology of the tripod. So here we go. Now, I've got to the thick bit because I've actually started in the middle of this. Now, I don't want to try to weave the thick bit, so I'm just going to bend it a little bit, and I'm not going to get too hung up about that thick bit there. I'm going to take a thinner bit now, and what you do is you kind of insert the willow in, just so it holds in place. Now don't worry too much about the shape of it to start with. It might not look an exact circle, but we can even that out as we go along. And don't worry about bits sticking out. Now what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to cut this big bit sticking out because it's just getting in the way, and cut it at an angle, okay? So the angle's like that. It makes it easier to push into the wreath if you need to do that later on. So as you're weaving, you're just kind of bending the bits of willow into shape, and you're sort of pushing them in between other bits. Now again, what I'm going to do, in fact I should have done this to start with, so bear with me. I'm going to cut the willow so it's got a nice little point to it. And then that makes it easier to push into, see, like this, just to hold it in place. And again, here we go, we're twisting. And now that bit's broken, but again, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Just put it down like that and see if I can't get that little bit pushed in. We'll push it in there. You tidy up the wreath at the very end. Really what you want to do is just get that structure in place. A nice, strong structure. And the very skinny bits of the willow, of course, they're very workable. It's almost like string, see? Now, I'm going to just cut that bit at a nice sharp angle. We're going to poke that in there, like so, and off we go weaving again. And you see what I'm doing? I'm taking that bit that's sticking out and I'm pulling it in onto the weave. I'm just going to push that out with my thumbs a bit, give it a bit more of a rounded, there we go, and tuck that little bit in. So you're just weaving and tucking, see, like that, there we go. Now take another piece of willow, sort of a medium sized bit. This is fresh willow, of course. You can store willow for a year, sometimes more than a year, and you refresh it. Look, this is breaking. This wouldn't happen if I was using old willow that had been refreshed. I'm probably not even using the right terms here. But basically you dry the willow out, and then when you want to use it, you would soak it in water like a stream. You'd soak it in the stream. That's what you do in the old days. Modern techniques allow you to kind of give it a steam bath. We're starting to get very technological, which I'm not going to go into too much because I don't need to do it like that. My willow weaving is very, very rustic. So, see, we're beginning to get the shape of this. How's that looking on the camera, Dwayne?
Looks good.
Okay,
actually,
can you actually see
come
it?
Just a little bit.
Like here?
Perfect. Yeah.
Push this to one side so
Yep.
people can see. Okay. So even that size is probably a little bit too big, but anyway, we'll keep going. So what we'll do is because this is quite a thick bit, I'm going to just hold it in place like that and then work on this thinner bit, which is a bit more bendy, so as not to break it. I'm wearing the wrong clothes here. I've got a cardigan on which keeps getting tangled up with the willow. But then you should know by now, none of this is rehearsed. And it certainly won't be edited, though I'm sure Dwayne would love to get his hands on this, edit it and put music to it and make it very professional. And I'm sure it would be fine, but then how could I possibly keep up with that when Dwayne goes home? And then people would be saying, oh, very, very disappointed in her following video, I'm going to unsubscribe. So let's just keep it real. Now, do you see how I'm putting this kind of thicker bit in? It's easier than just to, you see? You see what I've done there? So, now, this is good exercise for the hands, I must say. Now, this is dogwood, okay, which is nice and bendy as well. So, probably a little bit bendier, you know. Probably won't break as easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this in like that, okay? And then I'll push it in by half. Okay, so that's half and half. And then start, and take the point and kind of poke it through. Like so. Pull off those little leaves.
So will the colours stay?
The colours will stay, yeah. Now, I must just say about these wreaths, because I actually put one on a bonfire. I think this summer. I think at midsummer, and that wreath was. It was 5 years old, if not 6 or 7. They go on and on. They seem to last forever, really. And once you see, the willow wreath is brilliant because this is completely biodegradable. All right, no plastic involved. See how easy it is now to push that thicker bit in. No plastic involved, and if you wanted to, you could actually plant it after you've finished using it. Oh, this is okay. I'm just going to leave that like that because I can pull it in on a wave. But once you've got your willow wreath, you can then decorate it seasonally. So I'm going to make 2 videos today. We're making this one, how to make the willow wreath, and the second one will be about decorating it. And I'm going to be using rose hips and you know all those lovely autumn things. So off we go again now with another long stem. How many minutes is this video now, Dwayne?
9.5.
Okay, because we all know it cuts out without any ceremony at all at 30 or just under 30. So I'm going to work a little bit faster now because I want this to be finished so you can see.
Now, what
look.
if someone doesn't have access to willow? Is there something else they might be able to use?
Now, this is where I'd say to people, you know, use your imagination. If you haven't got access to willow, in fact, if you haven't got access to anything living on the landscape, you know, then what you can do is use, let me just try to think of some of the craft materials you could use. You know, you can get straw, so you don't even have to weave it. You could literally just put it down, make a circle, like a big bunchy circle, and then start tying it in maybe with ribbon or tying it in with string. You can get nice thick cord, you know, natural woven cord, and you could even starch it and then start working with it, you know. And it doesn't have to be woven. If it's too brittle to weave, then just shape it into a nice big circle. And kind of clip it, you know, with nice big clips, and then you can start working on it. And then each layer that you work up around the wreath makes it stronger and stronger. So you can see now how this is starting to come together.
And easy to hang because it's got all of the little holes in the availability. It's
absolutely
very easy to hang.
So push that one in there like so. Alright, so again we're just going half and half, and then that makes it easy then to pull through. So I'm going to push that down there just to keep that little bit in. You can start to secure the little sticky out bits. And you just weave wherever you can. So I'm going in and out here with this.
This could also be, correct me if I'm wrong, the base of a basket.
Oh, completely, yeah. In fact, I have a little basket base here. This is very easy to make. This is years old now, and I was basically showing someone how to start a basket, and this is very, very simple. So I will do a little basket making session one day, probably get lots and lots of criticism. That's not how you do it. Oh, that's not very good. But I can show you the basics, alright, and then leave you to do all the refining and all the, you know, power up with how to, and then come back at me and say, look, I made this and it's far better than what you made. So, okay, that bit broke off, we won't cry over that. We'll go on. So, I'm just looking at this now, where to put this bit in. So I'm going to put this bit in here. And again, about halfway, and then because what I want to do, I want to bend this, look, and pull this in. See, I'm holding that down. There we go, so that's pulled in a bit. And the same with these, no, not with that bit, with this bit here.
So a wider dimension of the wreath makes it easier to weave versus smaller and tighter.
Yeah, yeah. Well, kind of initially anyway. I mean, you can use really thin bits of willow. I've got fairly thick bits. In fact, this is from the biomass willow, you know, that grows from great big long stumps up there. I've pointed it out many a time on videos. So a lot of people wouldn't use the biomass, they'd use very slender stems in order to get a finer look. But I like the rustic look. I like it to be as natural and unpretentious as possible. And I think that more and more people are liking that look, you know. It means that we've interfered less. So
there's willows near my home where the branches hang down, and they're much thinner and easier to work with too, that are easy to go in and clip off and take home. Very large trees.
Now you can see what I'm doing here. In order to keep the circle look in the middle, I brought that in and poked it around like that. So I'm going to be weaving this bit down to hold it more in place. And you can keep stretching and moving like that. You know, you'll probably find wherever you live there are plants that will do just the same for you as what we're doing here with the willow. Put that in there.
Do you have any idea of how to thicken up each side as you go along, or do you have one side thinner and the other side thicker?
No, I'm trying to balance it all the time, but I'm trying to balance it within what I've got to work with. But you can always go round it at the end and kind of thicken up what you need to thicken up, you know, to balance it.
So, and the plants also determine design.
Yeah. As people know, I don't spend too much time chewing the cud on how to do something. I just do it, and you know, you can normally get things looking how you want them to look without too much trouble. But the important thing is just to get on and do it. That's my philosophy. Just get on and do it, and if it's starting to look a little bit skew-whiff, you know you can haul it back into shape, you see?
Well, it's lovely already.
It's starting to come together.
Yeah.
Now what I might do with these is just cut them off at this point. So again, because they might be too hard and stiff, you know, to kind of try to pull into the weave. Right. There's a wee bit there. So this is just a very brief tidy up before we move on any further. Okay. There we go. So now I'm going to take some thinner bits.
You're at 1730.
Oh good. So we're not too... Now this one I don't even have to do halfway, look, because it's a nice skinny piece and it's more flexible. It's more like a cord than anything else. When I was making, one of the things I did actually in order to sustain myself financially, i.e. pay the mortgage, in the early days, so the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I used to make lots and lots of these and take them to the farmer's market in town and sell them. So I kind of, it was up towards, you know, midwinter or Christmas, and I'd be making lots of these. And yeah, it was difficult to persuade people that this was a biodegradable wreath and that they could actually plant it after the Christmas and grow a willow from it. Because if you were just to plant this on top of the ground, all of these little shoots here would sprout, and you'd have willow and dogwood growing together. So it's almost like getting a lovely wreath for Christmas and then having this beautiful gift both to the earth and to oneself happening after. You don't get that from a plastic wreath made in China, do you? No, it's normally found floating around in the Pacific after, you know, after you've turned to dust in the ground.
Well, this is almost similar to those. You can be buried in a biodegradable casket kind of thing with a tree or a couple tree seeds.
Indeed. Is that, well, actually, what happens here in Ireland, in fact, the famous poet Seamus Heaney, he was buried in a willow coffin, and, you know, not chemicalised first, i.e. his body wasn't put through a chemical process. He was just buried in the willow coffin up in Donegal. So both himself and the willow back into the earth.
Yeah.
That lovely last gift. It is the last gift that you can ever give to Mother Earth. And so you should be in as good a shape as possible.
The nice thing about the willow too is it doesn't need any kind of rooting hormone or anything. You
Not
just
at all. It is a
plant and
rooting
it goes.
hormone in itself.
Yes.
If you want to make rooting hormone, you take some little bits of willow, you see, like this, and you put them into a glass of water, and you leave them for a week or so. The water then is a very powerful rooting hormone.
Oh.
Now, you see? Oh, I could tell you loads of things about willow.
Oh, we're learning a lot here.
Yeah, but you haven't told people that you're a prisoner here, have you, Dwayne?
A willful prisoner.
So now we're putting in some nice red dogwood. In fact, we might not even use all of this willow. Well, again, it's all very dependent on the time.
So the weave itself makes it very easy then to start going back and adding
And very strong. Look, feel that
berries
now.
and
Feel
things.
that.
Yes, it's very strong.
See?
Yeah. Yeah. Can make almost things to sit on with those
Oh, absolutely. Oh, gosh.
wicker.
Yeah. And this is very, very good exercise for your hands. You know, we don't exercise our hands enough. We don't kind of work with our hands anymore. And that is, like, I very rarely get any pain with rheumatoid arthritis because well, for a start, I eat a good diet that keeps the worst of it at bay. But I do work with my hands as much as possible. And my mother, who was knitting up until the week before she died, she always said, oh yes, and the knitting is really good, you know, it keeps my hands and arms flexible. And I remember one day she got undressed, she was at the hospital or something and I was helping her, and she got undressed. I said, Claire, Mother, you don't have any bingo wings. You know the bingo wings here that kind of flap about. She said, oh, of course not, Claire. I haven't got bingo wings. I'm forever knitting. So you see, there's so many advantages, especially as one gets older, in you know, making sure that you don't turn away from all those lovely earthy skills that allow you to be part of nature.
Or even think mindfully of all the things you can do in your life to bring the earth into your life more.
Oh yes.
Every little thing, even to making your own soap in some ways,
Oh
or
yes, totally.
how to conserve water.
I've made soap before, and you know, it's just, do you know something? The more you can make, the more, as you say, you feel part of the earth, and you don't feel vulnerable. A lot of people feel vulnerable today because they feel they have no control over their lives. Well, you know something, if you learn to make soap, which is one of the easiest things to learn, you know how to make something which is essential, not just for your body but for your health. Because for me, hand washing with a good soap is the thing I do constantly all day long, and keeps me healthy. Now look, you see
It's
how
looking
that's
really
coming?
nice.
Isn't it? So we're just going to, again, just trim off these little bits. And the thing is that as the willow then dries out, it actually holds that shape. It holds the shape really well. So, and the birds are singing.
I used to work in a floral arrangement business and would do this with roses, but not quite the same in terms of weaving, but dethorning them and arranging and everything. It was always a meditative process.
Yes, it's lovely, isn't it, you know? But you know, willow as well, I mean, you can see from all the leaves down here, it is something that really gets you out. And I remember making the willow wreaths years ago, working over in the tunnel doing them, and it was December and it was cold, but I didn't mind my hands and arms being cold. I had a nice kind of a body warmer on me, you know, like a little, whatever they're called, body warmers, I suppose. You know, those little gillets, those little, with no arms and
oh, a vest.
well, yeah, except the vest here is like an old string vest that a crusty old man would wear. So like we don't say vest. If I went into a ladies' wear shop and said, "Can I have a vest, please?" They'd say, "No, you'd have to go to the man's shop next door." So isn't it interesting how the language thing really kind of gets us all confused? And people walking away feeling absolutely horrified. What has that person just said to me?
Oh, I'm still trying to learn crake. When to use it and when not.
There we go, just push that in a wee bit so you can see the nice shape. That's almost there, isn't it?
So how thick do you go?
Well, you can go as thick as you like, but I think with this one, I'm just going to really kind of stop on the time thing, you know? Some nice wee skinny bits here. The wee skinny bits are brilliant because, like I said, they act as like a little cord.
They look like asparagus.
And they're so easy just to push in now. You see, look?
Yep.
So you don't even have to have it poking out. You can just push it in. Look, see, it's in place. And then you can wind.
And the strength of the structure just relies on the twining.
Well, you know that my Celtic ancestors, thousands of years ago, built their houses from willow. Can you imagine how strong the willow was in the face of wind and storm? And it just, like all good earthquake houses, it moved. It moved with the elements, you know?
Organic.
And of course the willow structure, it was the structure, and then they would fill it down with, you know, sheep's wool and mud and you know, kind of reinforce it. But the actual structure itself was willow, and we found evidence of that, I think somewhere in the north of Ireland. Oh, that's a nice wee bit. Where did you get that?
It was sitting here beside me.
Right. I was looking for a bit. Look,
it jumped off the table.
Yeah. So we'll actually put this in now as the last bit. We'll poke that in there. Just now you see why I do that wee cut on the end of it.
It's like threading a needle on a fabric.
Yeah. Now I'm going to poke that through wherever. So put it through there, and then put it through there. Okay. So now a quick tidy up. Not much left to tidy really. And what do you think?
I love it. I think it's great.
Lovely?
A nice foundation to start adding more things.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course we've got all these little
Yep.
holes and stuff that we can put things into. So, this is the willow wreath. And I think, yeah, that's it. Of course we could add more. You can make it much bigger, much deeper, much thicker. But that wreath will hold as a wreath for anything up to 10 years, maybe more. If you want to revive it, you just put it into water. So you throw it into the pond for a day or two and then fish it back out again.
Wow.
Because the willow is a water tree. And so from the day it's cut, it starts to dry out. But it will soak that water back up again. even after 10 years. You can, in my experience anyway. There we go. So, let me just have a little look through the camera here. And oh yes, there we go. That's lovely.